start with Richmond and their woes. They're significant and they're mounting. And if you're judging by some of their leaders going into the weekend's game, it's a problem they did not see coming.
Yeah, let's be careful of the term of experts, but anyway.
People have been waiting for their opportunity to sink their boots into us because we have been so successful for a long time. But good luck if you're playing us in the last 7 weeks. I mean, wherever we sit on the ladder. And we've got a firm belief that we're a bloody good football side.
Tigers have been defiant, but I think reality's starting to bite, Caroline.
Oh, well, clearly it's a big battle now to make the 8. And the question, Matthew, is, you know, well, we're going to talk about the captain in a moment, but what do you do with him? Because I think they have to change what they're doing with Trent Cotchin. I mean, they have to change where they're playing him for a start.
Yeah, well, Damien Hardwick did admit that over the weekend. Here is what Damien Hardwick said about Trent Cotchin.
Look, I'd love to manage him, to be honest. He's a battering ram. You know, he's played like that for 15 years at the highest level, and you know, the game has changed. That it is more, you know, uncontested marks. We're seeing a lot of it at the moment. So there's not a lot of stoppage contest type things that are his strengths. So we sort of have spoken about what we can look at moving him in a different position, but we need him to play midfield at the moment. You know, he's our captain, he's our leader.
Well, you're back in champions to turn themselves around, Kane. I know you were the first to go with it nice and early, that you had concerns around him. And I just wonder whether that new role, if Basher Hooley doesn't play on next year, Trent Cotchin has a contract, is half back where he finished his career or not?
I don't know. I just think we're searching for places to hide him. I think sometimes the game just passes you by. It does. And
That's strong language on a dual premiership.
Yeah, but everyone's career.
Three-time premiership.
Three-time premiership captain. Look at Mundy at Fremantle.
Yeah, but look at the way
we were writing him off last year too.
I'm not sure anyone was writing off.
No, not writing him off. But seriously, why are they waiting to play him in a different role next year? I mean, if he's that banged up and that sore, and we hear Dustin Martin of the Ages reporting he does have a sore foot as well. How much damage are they doing by making him be the battering ram still?
I don't know why.
In a game that's not
I don't know why it's
too
strong to say that at some point 31 repeated soft tissue injuries not influencing games.
I agree with that.
Games getting harder, interchanges coming down. That the game at some point passes you by. That's what I'm seeing from
That's
Trent
true, but when you have a contract,
think he should hang the boots up?
Yes. Yeah, I think.
But if he has a contract and if he wants to play on, and he might not, but if he does, they have to think about where they're going to play him, and they're obviously having those discussions. I'm saying, why damage his body even more by not doing it now?
The decision they've got to make, assuming this year's gone, is whether they get on with a reinvent to have another go, or whether that group has had its run and it's another reset. Where do you sit on that?
Well, I looked at this, Hutchie, and those guys, I'm basing it on this season. So I don't think Cotchin, Revolt, Edwards, Grimes and Hooley can improve on this year. But I look at the guys in the green and I think there's massive improvement on next year. No, I've got stars beside Lambert, Bolton, Baker and Short. And I'm saying, I know Short's a best and fairest winner in a premiership year, but I'm saying without superstars at their best, can those guys like Bolton be at their best? So that's where I think they'll rebound next year. They'll be better than they were this year. But I think there's bigger growth at other teams.
You've got to go again.
Can the window stay open, or is it?
Sorry. What about Coleman Jones, who I think's got a lot of promise? What about Noah Bolter, who's going to come back from injury?
He won't play most of the year.
What about Ivan Soldo, who will play next year, who I think will make a big difference? For all of those, what about Jack Graham?
Carry. For all of those, I think there's bigger growth in other teams who haven't had success like Richmond have because they've had access to the draft. So I could say, what about Aaron Norton? What about Jamari Ulehagen? What about Cody Wade? All I'm saying is they're all top-end talent. Bailey Smith, whereas Richmond haven't had access to them in previous years.
So what would you do?
You go again, don't you? I think you were in the right to go
with
again.
With 2 first-round draft picks and 2 second-round draft picks.
They're not going to help you next year.
No, but if you use one of them to
perhaps,
maybe...
yeah, but I think you have to go again, and they'll need a better improvement from Dustin Martin. I think his form has been dropped off. Now, whether the opposition have worked him out finally...
Well, his foot injury, Caroline says, is better.
So there's the numbers there, and he's not impacting the way that he should. Now, part of that is, I think, teams finally have a player that can now combat Dustin Martin, and he's not influencing as well. But that's not to say at 30 that he won't get back to his absolute best.
And Shea Bolton's interesting because he's going to seek good money. He's a very good player, but he doesn't need to be in a good system of players around him to give him the ball.
I couldn't advise him any more strongly to stay where he is. I think he's at a wonderful club with wonderful players around him who have helped him be the player he was. And I discussed pre-show Tim Kelly. Tim Kelly moved on, and he's not at Geelong surrounded by wonderful... I know they're good players, but they're coming to the end.
So what would you advise Richmond, though, Lord?
I would say hold strong on the offer of what you think is fair, but don't go above it, because I think Bolton would soon realise if he left Richmond the mistake that he's made.
So I'm not really sure what you're saying. Are you saying Richmond, the window isn't open next year, or it is open next year?
What I'm saying is I don't think the champions are going to get better. I'd be shocked if they won the premiership next year.
Yep.
But while you've still got them there for one more year, obviously Revolt might go for one more season, Cotchin might go for one more season, Edwards might go for one more season. You're not going to really bottom out, are you? So like Geelong, you probably have one more crack at it before it's all over, in my opinion.
The last
Pretty good names on the other list, I reckon.
Yeah.
footy's changed, and they've been one of the victims of the change of the game. But the last quarter was damning, Kane and Matthew. It really was.
I think you've got some vision that you wanted to highlight.
And I think what's happened, just on the weekend before we showed it, Chol, Ross, Stack, Mansell, Garthwaite, Dow, Naish, Collier, Dawkins. So this is a long way off a premiership team. That's how many outs they had on the weekend, a lot of injuries. But that's Garthwaite, who just let a player go past him. Gloucester wouldn't let this happen. Sydney, Stack, for example, doing all the work, but when the ball comes, look where he goes. And Josh Thomas kicks the goal. So they're a mile off. This was the last quarter numbers against the Collingwood side. This is Gold Coast and Collingwood, Kane, who they're losing to. So they're a mile off. I think this year's over, and it's about, do you just play as many kids and have a look at your list like the Ralph Smiths of the world, or do you keep going to these senior players who are banged up?
And